Trump unleashes unhinged tirade against dictator Zelensky, suggesting Ukraine continued war to get U.S. money. President Donald Trump appeared on Wednesday to throw America's lot completely in with Russian President Vladimir Putin in the three-year-old war the Russian leader started against Ukraine by issuing a bizarre social media threat against Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and accusing him of continuing the war against Moscow as a way to soak American taxpayers. In a post on his Truth Social website, Trump accused Zelensky, who he called a modestly successful comedian in a reference to his previous career as a sitcom star and entertainer, of having talked the United States of America into spending $350 billion to go into a war that couldn't be won, that never had to start. He also claimed Zelensky, who recent opinion polls show is holding support from a majority of Ukrainians, refuses to have elections and falsely accused the Ukrainian leader of being very low in polls. He went on to accuse Zelensky of having played former President Joe Biden, like a fiddle, for military assistance funds approved by the U.S. Congress over the last 3 years. A dictator without elections, Zelensky better move fast or he is not going to have a country left, Trump wrote. The president continued by suggesting that he and his team are currently successfully negotiating an end to the war, a reference to his recent decision to capitulate to the Russian dictator by opening talks for a settlement to the war without Zelensky's involvement. He then accused the Ukrainian leader of wanting to continue fighting off the unprovoked invasion of his country to keep the gravy train of American aid going. "I love Ukraine, but Zelensky has done a terrible job, his country is shattered, and millions have unnecessarily died," Trump added. The American leader's comments on Wednesday seemed to continue a wholesale shift in U.S. policy from being a staunch ally of Ukraine's democratically elected government and against the unprovoked war Russia launched in 2022, a continuation of an invasion that began in 2014 with the illegal annexation of Crimea, to an ally of Russia's dictator-led government. They also appeared to be in part a reaction to criticism of Trump by Zelensky, who reacted to Trump falsely blaming his government for the war by suggesting that the American leader was living in a disinformation space created by Russia. Trump had previously falsely accused Zelensky of holding approval ratings around 4% and has frequently boosted Russian propaganda lines about Ukraine, including by repeatedly suggesting that the invasion by Moscow was the fault of Kyiv for wanting to align further with the West by joining NATO rather than a war of aggression started by Putin with the aim of reclaiming control over territory lost during the collapse of the Soviet Union. During a media availability at his Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida on Wednesday, Trump suggested that Kyiv could lose more American support if Zelensky does not lift the state of martial law he declared to respond to Russia's 2022 invasion and hold new elections that Russia could manipulate to install a pro-Kremlin puppet government. He also mocked Ukrainian concerns over being left out of purported peace talks between Russian and American representatives in Riyadh, the first high-level, face-to-face contact between the two governments since the start of the war, a move that reversed years of American policy which held that no talks about ending the war in Ukraine would be held without involving the Ukrainian government. Well, they've had a seat for 3 years and a long time before that. This could have been settled very easily. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal, he said. In fact, it was Russia that started the war by invading Ukrainian territory with the aim of toppling Kyiv's pro-Western government. And despite Trump's claims that Zelensky is a dictator, it is Putin who has spent nearly 30 years as Russia's head of state, a period during which he has consolidated power and turned the nominal democracy founded in the wake of the Soviet Union's collapse into an autocracy with periodic sham elections with only token opposition allowed to participate. Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton, had harsh words for his former boss in a post on X, formerly Twitter, in which he called the president's comments some of the most shameful remarks ever made by a U.S. president. And his former vice president, Mike Pence, was equally condemning of the man with whom he served from 2017 to 2021, writing on X, "Mr. President, Ukraine did not start this war." Let us know what you think in the comments. Subscribe and follow us for more daily news about what's going on in our world.